All right. You guys, it's been a little while since I've done an interview. I've kind of had it on a halt. I've had to like find people. We're going to do things here and there. But today I'm so freaking excited because I have Amanda and I connected with her via Instagram. You guys, social media, I know it's craziness right now, but also there's so much awesomeness there as well because you dig and find and what you want to see, you're going to get. So when you look for the good people and the good things, you're going to find it. And I stumbled across Amanda and I reached out and I was like, would you want to interview with me? And she's like, yes. So I'm super duper excited. She's a fellow adoptee like me. And this is something that I've just barely learned after I shared my story, which I saw she shared her story too with Love What Matters. I shared my story with Love What Matters. I didn't realize transracial adoption like was a thing. I didn't realize that was a word. And so that's something, hello, I'm 33 that I learned. And so she is a fellow transracial adoptee. So I'm super excited to hear her story because I've seen bits and pieces on her Instagram, but I'm excited for you to hear it because every story is beautiful. So I will go ahead and I'll just have Amanda introduce herself. I'll mute myself and just turn the time over to her.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda. I am a transracial adoptee. I was born, well, actually, I'm not gonna say I was born into a white family. Oh my God, you see what it does? Oh my gosh, like, hello. Okay, I was adopted into a white family. Let's, replay that. I was adopted into a white family at 3 days old. My adoption was a closed adoption. So pretty much my whole life, I'm gonna say my life up until I reunited with my biological family, it was all a mystery. I was born in the Bronx, New York, and my adopted family only lived about an hour outside of there on Long Island, New York. So I grew up on Long Island, suburbs, predominantly white area. My school was very diverse though. So when I went to school, that's when I was around people who looked like me. Fast forward to when I decided to find my biological mother. The high school years were very, very difficult for me. I always got along with people. I was in sports. I was in a lot of activities, but I never felt like I fit in. I always felt like something was missing. And as a kid, as a young kid, as a preteen, you don't know, and usually it's our parents are the ones that say, okay, this is what's going on. That's what's going on. But they were in this and they were just as clueless as I was. I grew up in the 90s. There weren't a lot of transracial adoptions. And if there was, it tended to be more Asian kids that were placed in white homes. So even then, I still felt out of place. I was like, they're still not Black. They might be Asian and with a white family, but I never saw that connection in myself and say, okay, well, they might be going through the same thing I'm going through. So I remember I had the really hard conversation with my adopted mother. And I said, I need to find out who my mother is. I need to find out where I come from in order for me to move on and move forward with my life. And, at first she said she had mixed emotions and, she was like, well, that this could go bad. She might not want to be found. You might find out something that you don't want to know. So she really prepped me and prepared me for the worst, but we prayed for the best. That's pretty much how it went. So I had a lot of support in that aspect in the beginning. And then we set out to find her. So the way that we decided to find her was, they used to have the long lost, like find your long lost family member back in the day. And like, you would call them and give them the information. It was something like that, but I don't know behind it what was done because again, I was about 15 years old. So my mother pretty much did all the legwork. So we reached out to them and my birth mother, her name was so popular that we literally got back like 30 pages of people. And then we're like, okay, this is going to take months. And my mom said, you know what, let's narrow it down to all the women who are in New York. So I said, okay, because that's where I was born. Okay, let's start off there. Anyway, long story short, she actually hand wrote every single letter. We got a PO box at the local post office and used it as a return address. So she hand wrote every letter, and I think it went something like, we are searching for so-and-so who lived in Bronx, New York in January 1984. just my month and my year of birth. And that's how the letter was sent out. So over the next couple of weeks, we received responses like, you know, I'm not the person you're looking for. No, or we didn't receive anything at all. One day she comes home and she has a letter. And I'm like, okay, like, what is this? And she opens it up, we read it, and it says, I believe I am the person you're looking for. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she left the phone number. So at this point, I have so many mixed emotions and I'm like, oh my gosh, like call her now. You know what I mean? Like she left the number, call her. And my mom was like, let me reach out to her first and speak to her. I think she wanted to get a little, you know, feel a little vibe going. And then if everything is good, then I will have her speak to you. Okay. So I remember we had the cordless phone and my mom's like, go upstairs. And I'm like sitting there waiting to pick it up and everything. And she says, Amanda, pick up the phone. I said, oh my God. So I answer the phone. I'm like, hello? I go like scared and everything. And I hear this voice and she goes, hi, Amanda. And I was like, oh my God, like she sounds so sweet. You know what I mean? Like so sweet. She just sounded so, you know, confident. And I always tell people, I said, you ever like, I don't know, and she sounded so beautiful. And I know it might sound crazy, but everything, you know, growing up, we always fantasize about, you know, our parents and we fantasize what they look like. Who could that be? Me as a kid, I fantasized and I thought my mother was famous. That was my way. I said she was famous. She wanted to do this and that. And she's probably up there on stage and I'm watching her on every award show. That's how I was just like, yes, this is it. So I talked to her and, you know, we talked for a little bit and she's like, there's somebody that I would like you to meet. Okay. Another lady gets on the phone. Hi, Amanda, I'm your sister. I was like, what? So yeah. So it turned out that I had an older sister. She was not adopted. So talk on the phone for a couple more hours, get off. Then we finally ended up meeting for the first time. That was very overwhelming. I'll tell you, that was like, I could still feel how I felt that day. I met my mother, my sister, my biological grandmother, 3 of my aunts, my cousins, everybody was there. And that was the beginning of our, you know, reunification. So yeah, so growing up, I really thought that I didn't understand at the time that I was struggling with so much racial identity. It's almost because in my home, like I knew I was different, but then when I stepped outside and I started to look at other families and other people, it's like I knew I was different. Like there's something wrong with me. This is weird, you know? And as a kid, sometimes people are mean. People are really, really mean. And it was like I had the cooties. I was adopted. And my family didn't want me, you know? So now they passed me off to another family. And that's how I felt for a long, long time. And, you know, a lot of my feelings were invalidated, mostly from my birth mom. You know, I feel like she didn't want to really accept a lot of things. And, you know, it was just made to seem like I was crazy, you know, like I was imagining things like, it was like, you know, get over it, stop being a victim. And I'm sitting here like, I'm not a victim, but I'm hurt. There's a difference. There's a difference between hurt, pain, and then being a victim. And I was just crying out because I just wanted somebody to say, it's okay. Like, it's okay to feel that way. And you have every right to feel that way. So that was a lot of going back and forth. So years go on. Both families got along in the beginning, but then they started to separate. So then I felt like I was torn again between 2 families. And, you know, I always tell myself, like, I don't regret it. It was a lesson and I'm glad that I did it, because I would have never gotten to this point today. Like, I would have never been here speaking to you. I would have never been able to share my story if I didn't experience these life-changing moments. So, I mean, that's pretty much the short version of it. Then let's get to December of 2020. I lose my job. That's when that was a trigger for me, because I was really on a good path. I was feeling better about myself. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in racial identity, transracial adoption. I really narrowed it down to say, this is what I need, and I need you to help me to overcome this. And Yeah, I lost my job, and that was a trigger for everything that I was working on myself for all these years, because it was that rejection. It was like, I'm not good enough. My job that I was working at for 4 years, it was a mistake, and that was the end of it. And I was really depressed. I felt myself going back into that shell, back into that dark space. And something inside me one morning said, tell them why you hurt. Just tell them. And I didn't know who. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to record a video, and I'm just going to talk to myself in the camera, and I'm just going to record a video because I need to let it out. And I sat down at my dining room table and I started recording a video. And I said, I'm probably going to, maybe put it on YouTube, whatever. I had no real intention of putting it up, but that's what I was telling myself. Recorded the video. I felt so much better. It felt like a ton of bricks was lifted off my chest. And I remember I was in my first YouTube video, I was crying. And I told my boyfriend, I said, babe, I don't even think I should upload. He said, no. He said, you need to upload it just like the way it was. And so people could understand how much you were hurting. And it was real. It was genuine. It was me. And then after one video, it started into 2 videos. And then the 2 videos started into 3 videos. And I said, oh my gosh, like I'm actually healing. Like the more I talk, the better I feel. And then when it came to like maybe my 3rd or 4th video, I said, you know what, I'm going to start, doing more videos. And then I started getting the feedback, and I said, wait a second, there's people like me. I never knew that this adoptee community and adoption community even existed. And just to see and talk to people and to repost and say, oh my God, that's me. I was like, I called my mom hysterical, and I said, Mom, all these years, I felt so alone. And I go on social media and I like literally find my people. Like I find the people that could relate to me and that are telling me that what I'm feeling and what I was going through was normal for my situation. It was okay for me to be mad. It was okay for me to feel hurt. And it was also okay for me to share my story and to let it out. Because guess what? I was silenced. My adoption wasn't so much a secret, but it was more like, we don't talk about it. We know she was adopted. And I'm not talking about my adoptive family, my birth family. We know she was adopted, but let's not really ask any questions. But it was never said. It was just actions. It was tiptoed around, the situation. Okay. So then I said, you know what? Let me create an Instagram based on everything that I'm doing, create an Instagram. I said, okay, let me just do this. And then it was just more and more people. So I said, you know what? I saw the need. And I said, you know what? I already have a voice. I already know, like, I'm always the first one to speak up. I'm always the first one to say, I'll just do it. I'll do it. You know what I mean? No, I'll speak for us. Don't worry about it. I got this. You know what I mean? And that was the type of personality that I had going into this. And I said, nope. I said, these are my people. I want to support them. And they need to know that there are people and that could heal. Because me and the stuff and this is only a small version of my story. There is a lot of stuff that has happened that me and my best friend were talking earlier. And she was like, I can't believe some of the stuff like that went on over the last couple of years. Because if you weren't there, you might not even believe it that went on. And to see, for her to say, you know what, like, I'm so proud of you. And she's a non-adoptee. And she said, I'm so proud of you because this is a new you. And, I've always loved you, but I'm just so happy for you that you really are able to live your true, authentic self, because it's amazing. And I feel great just watching you, just go through these steps. So that's when I decided that I wanted to help other adoptees and just be there as a support to say, you know what, it's okay. But in order for us to kind of get, make noise, there needs to be more people. There's all these movements going on and everything going on. Why not an adoptee movement? Seriously, like, why not something to do with adoptees? And why are these psychiatrists and doctors, everybody doing all these studies on us and, what our effects are, trauma, telling us how we should feel, how we shouldn't feel, what's going to happen to us, when we are the only ones who know exactly what went on? We are the ones who should be educating these parents when they go and adopt children of other races and tell them, this is what's going to happen. There's too many common similarities for it to be just a coincidence. You know what I mean? Like there's just too much going on where I'm just like, no. So with that, that's when I feel like I want to educate white adoptive parents when it comes to raising Black kids and be open and honest and transparent. My parents didn't have any resources. So I know what they struggled with nothing, no YouTube, no social media, 7 channels on the TV type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't have that much channels and you know what I mean? Only Friday night, like the real TV shows came on, but my parents had to do the legwork and to get people to, if they had to involve themselves, insert themselves in the Black community without anybody teaching them. So I just feel like my experiences and everything that I overcame could help these people in this community. And I want to do it in a place out of love, but definitely honesty and, truth. They need to hear it the way that it is, not what it might be or what it may seem to be, because it's fine. You can love your child all you want. My parents love me. My parents surrounded me in Black culture. My parents had me around Black people in a diverse school. But guess what? I still struggled. There's some things that are just inevitable, and it's because of where I grew up. And that's basically what it was.
No, I freaking love you already so much. And I'm just like, no, seriously. Well, I was pulling up your Instagram while you were talking, and like some of the things that you have like put on there that like I like, it's 100% true what you're saying. Until you're an adoptee, you don't fully understand. And I think a lot, like at least with my parents, I don't know if your parents, they did a lot to kind of guard and protect my heart because they thought that was what was best for me.
Yes.
And so, unlike you, it took me till I was 30 to search out my birth family. But the thing that I've loved too, that the other people who I've interviewed that are adopting now kids, they're everything. And I think it's like you said with the time change, like they've got YouTube, they're diversing their kids as much as they can into things into that. I feel like a lot of them also have open adoptions with the birth parents, which that was unheard of when we were younger. Like
I honestly, I think I could imagine myself, and I think that that would hurt very much for me to have a relationship with my mom and not be able to go with her. Because there's still that connection, you know what I mean? Especially transracially, we want to find people that look like us. So if I was having that relationship with my biological mother and I couldn't be with her and I couldn't, you know what I mean? That would be very difficult for me. Because guess what? When I first met my biological mother and I left her for the first time, I didn't want to leave. I did not want to leave. I wanted her, and something crazy inside was said, Amanda, just come stay with me. Just come stay with me. And let's just start off from here. I really wanted that to happen at that moment. And when it didn't, I was like, she doesn't like me. She's not accepting me. Do you know what I'm saying? And then that's when that rejection started to come in, which it wasn't like she did it intentional. She couldn't, but in my mind, I just wanted her to say, come on, like come back home. And, it's everything's going to be okay, but that's not how it played out. So I think open adoption, I think it's in or out. If that's too much confusion, Yeah,
no, and I understand that. And some of these families, it's amazing how they have made it work. Like amazing, like with the kids and with the parents and everything. And a lot of these parents, like it's insane and it's wonderful. And it's crazy because some of these people who have adopted that are trying to keeping their families involved, they are adoptees themselves. There's been a couple that I've interviewed. And so it's just kind of crazy. Wow. Everybody's so different with their things. But a lot of the things that like I love is I just don't think people think before they speak. Your post that you said, things I heard while growing up as a transracial adoptee. Like it's true. Where are you really from? Okay. Like I'm sure you're better off. Like, I just don't think people think, like, what's it like being adopted? Like,
yeah. And it's like, I swear, it's like you're on display at a museum and people are poking at you with the stick, seeing if you're going to bleed the same color. Like, that's literally how it was. And I'm just like, well, you're asking me this, but clearly I'm adopted. I don't know. And if I knew, that's none of your business. But as kids, And that's one of the things that the adoptive parents need to be teaching them. And it's something as simple as that. But what do you say when your child comes home and says, well, where am I really from? Well, why? I don't understand. Because my question started at 4 years old. My question started at my mother. And I said, why does my skin look like this and your skin looks like that? That's when the question started. She wasn't prepared.
Did your parents your adoptive parents, were they open about it? Like,
yes.
You said hush hush. Was it hush hush with your birth family or with your adoptive parents about like this?
So it was more like don't ask, don't tell with my birth family. Like nothing was said unless it was asked. My adoptive family was open from day one that I was adopted. And the thing is that, they really tried to make me understand that my mother loved me. That's why she gave me up. And I couldn't understand that. I don't agree with how they put that. But then again, they're going off of a blank slate. They had it wasn't like as parents, we don't have a manual anyway. So you can imagine an adoptive parent that doesn't have any manual, no experience with that culture, no experience with anything, and you're trying to teach your child. That's like, it's impossible. I said, that's like me doing open heart surgery. It's not, you can't do it without the proper training and the proper education. You can't just go in there and just swoop somebody up and say, okay, let me just do this heart transplant. It's not going to happen. And I know it might sound a little extreme, but you're dealing with a human being. You're dealing with a life. You're dealing with a life and a child that's going to grow up to be an adult and have to go out there and face the world on their own. My job as a parent, I am preparing my daughter to go out there into the world. How are you supposed to prepare your child if you don't even know what to prepare them for? I teach my daughter about race all the time. And I tell her, I said, the difference between me and, grandma and grandpa is to see, I've experienced it because I'm a Black woman, so I could teach you. They weren't able to teach me because when there were incidents when I got, blamed for stealing stuff. And I was with my white friends and nothing happened to them. There were even times when parents told my mom they couldn't hang out with me. For what? My mom said, for what? When really their child was the one that was doing all the stuff. But I was kind of kicked out of the friend group. But why? You know what I mean? You can't tell us why. Well, to me, there's only one reason,
No, that's tough. I'm sorry. Like my childhood and with friends, because my friends were solely white too. Not so much kind of an experience. So I'm sorry. That's tough. But like you said, everything that you've gone through has shaped you into the woman that you are. And like you said, we'd be here for like 10 hours listening to all your amazingness that's happened in your life and craziness.
The craziness.
And how you fought through it and become the woman that you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's so great that you have like made it your mission, because there's things, like I said, I love that you post the hard things that people don't want to talk about. And it's like, actually, this is valid, this is true. And every single adoptee, I can guarantee you, has felt that way no matter how their upbringing was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm noticing that more. And I said, somebody said, you're like the Wendy Williams of the adoptee community. And I said, oh, whoa. I said, wait a second. I said, let's not get like that crazy or that carried away. But I do want to show people like, it's okay to open up your mouth. And guess what? I spent too much time worrying about what people thought about me. You're going to like me. You might act like you like me and talk behind my back. But either way, I'm still going to be me. And it took me a long time to get to that point. And I tell you, if you need a little pep talk, I am that person. I will be the one to call you every single morning. What are you doing? What are you doing? Get up, get yourself together. And, today's a new day. Come on. You know what I mean? Because I've wasted too much time. And I don't want other people to waste that much time when, you know why? I'm an adoptee, yes. But it is not all I am. I'm a mother. I'm a fiance. I'm a friend. I'm a daughter. I'm all these things. Adoption is a piece of me, but I'm choosing to take it and flip it and use it to good. I'm not going to complain. I might vent, I'm still in pain, it's not going to go away, but I'm taking that pain and I'm going to use it as everything inside me and put it to good. That's what I'm going to do. I don't want to die young of stress. I don't want to get all these wrinkles and stuff for what? For something somebody else did to me? Are you kidding me? Come on, like, no, I'm gonna rise above it, and you're gonna see me and be like, oh my God, I never, yeah, because you told me I wasn't gonna be, you know what? I got something else for you, you know? That's that's the type of wave I'm on, you know?
No, I
So
love it. And I think it's great and it's wonderful. And seriously, like there needs to be more people that are going to address the hard issues because I know with me, with my experience, there's things that I'm like, well, if I do this, then I'm gonna like, because a lot of like what you're saying that your adoptive mama said, like same with mine. Like I think they do it to guard your heart because they don't know how. They don't have the
yep.
resources. They don't know. And so I feel like, well, if I cross this line, she gonna be upset with me. Yes. Yes.
That was my biggest fear. Was she kick me out and give me to somebody?
I learn so many different things every time I do a different interview. No, seriously. And I love it because then I learn something new, opens my eyes to something different. And I'm like, okay, you know, I can learn from this. I can do this because every adoptee story is totally different.
Exactly.
There's always different things. Like, I seriously love your posts because when you post things and I read them, I'm like, okay, yes, I have felt that once in my lifetime. It may not be as severe or strong, but like I have felt that. Like that is valid. And I guarantee you any other adoptee could say the same because it's true.
And it's so weird because I'm just literally like, and as my posts come to me, like I write them down and I put notes as things come to my head. And I could be having a bad day. And that's how my content is created. And my content is created. And if you see, it is literally on my mood. But that's because I'm human. And I want people to see that authentic, real side of me that I'm human. I have bad days. You know what I mean? I have really bad days. I got engaged this weekend. Like it was a huge surprise on Mother's Day. And I was just thinking to myself, like, my family was there, but I wish my birth family was there. Do you know what I'm saying? So then that kind of had me in a little thing that I had to pick myself out of. And that's what I mean about, you know, I am on a healing journey. It's going to take forever. It's going to take forever. Hi. But, you know, it's going to take forever. It's a process. But I'm going to try to enjoy it as much as I can, you know, and whoever wants to be there will be there. And whoever doesn't, then they won't be there. But, you know, and then that's when I woke up and I was just like, I'm just going to post this because that's how I was feeling. I was like, nope. I said, you guys need to join. Your voices need to be heard. Let's go. You know, like, let's go, because I know all you guys want to, you know, you comment on my post and you're like, oh my God, this is so true. Oh my God, this is so true. Let it out. Let it go. You know, and then you see something down there and it's like, I know, something very negative. And I'm just like, oh, like, I get it. Like, I get it, but just twist it. You know what I mean? Use that to fuel your, you know, your good energy, you know, and don't let them control your life anymore, because when you're angry and you cannot forgive, that person is in control of your life. They're in control of your happiness and in control of what you are doing in your life. And why give them any more control than they already had over your life the whole time? That's how I look at it.
No, I agree. So I'm gonna ask, and if you don't want to answer, that's totally fine. Is relationship with your birth family now okay or not okay? Or
so not all of them, some. Yeah, I try to maintain as much relationships as I can. My biological mother and my biological sister don't speak. We haven't spoke in probably 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
that's the thing. That's the thing I want people to hear though. Like, I mean, it's unfortunate too for you.
Yeah.
Like my story is very different. My story it's kind of magical with how I found my birth family and how accepting and all those kinds of things. And we're still in contact. But I want people to see, because there's a couple other people that I've interviewed and they haven't had the outcome. They've had people who don't even want to talk to them. They don't, and I want people to see that not as everything seems like rainbows.
No, it's really not. Yeah. No, and everybody needs to prepare themselves if you do it. And like I said when I first did it, you know, you prepare for the worst, but pray for the best. And mine was good for a little bit, but it was never consistent. It was never we never developed a stable relationship. And I did a podcast, I think it was last week or the week before, and it had a birth mom, an adoptee, and also an adoptive mom. And the birth mom said something to me, and it'll probably sit with me for the rest of my life. And she said, you don't owe her anything. She said, the fact that you still have all these questions and you've known her for 23 years, I was waiting for her to come to me with these answers. She never did. She said, I'll wait for her. And I feel like that was a way, as a mother, I think I would have sat my daughter down and I would have said, like, what questions do you have? How was your life? What was bothering, what did you go through? Not at one time did anybody ask me how I felt. I was told how I should feel. I was told why I shouldn't feel that way, but nobody ever said, Amanda, how do you feel? So it got to the point where it was very draining, and it was on both ends. I'm not going to say it was all her fault or whatever. We did try, but 23 years, that's a lot of trying. I moved to Maryland to be closer. I've lived here for almost 3 years. So more than half of that time, I haven't had that, relationship. But the birth mom also said that that connection, that bond was broken so long ago that I could never develop that connection with my birth mom. It was kind of like it was enabled, it didn't work. It wasn't going to work. And it made sense in my head. She said, she's not your mom. She's not. That was gone a long time ago. And it made me understand a little bit more why she probably acted the way she did or treated me the way she did. Because my sister, she treated my sister completely different. And my daughter, who was 13 at the time, we left their house one day and she said, Mommy, she said, why does she treat you so much different than she treats your sister? And I looked at it and I thought about it and I said, wow, it's really that obvious? And that kind of woke something up in my head, like, wow, this is just something I was thinking of myself. But for my 13-year-old to recognize it without any conversation, that there was a problem there. So I distanced myself from some of my biological family because I didn't want them to feel like they had to choose sides because I didn't talk to my biological mom and sister. So I kind of fell back, and I was afraid that they would reject me, that they would be like, listen, we can't talk to you, or whatever it was that I made up in my head. But I'm repairing those relationships, and I'm in contact with other family members who I hope to, continue to have relationships with. I wish that I could have a good relationship with my biological mother and sister, but it's so much. Like when I tell you, it's so much. It's when I'm telling you, reality show, I'm telling you, because it is so crazy. And on my YouTube channel, I even talk about some situations, and I'm just like, now that I have a platform where I could talk to people and they could answer me, I'm like, listen, am I bugging? Can you tell me? Is this weird? Like, is it me? Because this doesn't seem right, So it wasn't the best, but like I said, I don't regret it at all.
I love, because that is something that I have never, like you 100%, when you were talking about, oh, I just lost it. Oh, when you were saying that, like, you wanted her to come with all the answers, as soon as you said that, just emotion in me, because that's 100% how I felt. And
really?
I have a language barrier with my birth mom.
Uh-huh.
But I have had to pull and prod every single question out of her. Hey, hang on. That.
Wow.
Sorry, my 3-year-old keeps coming out. And then you go out. Hey, can you take it back out? Go out real quick. Which is crazy because I am one of 7 children. I'm the only one given an option. So they don't really talk to her about hard things. She's kind of made it a wall that way all growing up. They don't ask her hard questions or anything. So when I came and swooped in, and my one brother, he speaks English and Spanish. So I'm like, ask her this, ask her this, ask her this. And there's some things you can tell she's deflecting, which I don't.
That's what it was.
She doesn't want me to know. She doesn't want to be like ashamed. She doesn't want to feel guilt. She doesn't want to look bad. Like, And I'm just like,
but that's not what we want. And then, that I would have such a different level. Like, I think that would have made our relationship so much better, because you know why? I'm already afraid. You gave me up once. I don't want to ask you or say something that will make me lose you again. And the fact that and like I said, I was never able to ask her these questions. And I did ask her, like, every now and then. Whenever I did ask her a question, it was deflected. And it was rerouted, and it made it about her. And she talked about her situation. I know more about situations that happen with her and other people than I do what was the reason. And when I asked her why she gave me up, the excuse that I still don't know till this day. And the conversation went like this. It said, Amanda, I remember myself sitting in a room, and there were a whole bunch of family members deciding who was going to claim you on their taxes that year. And I just didn't want you to live like that. I just thought that this was, and I'm like, what? And she told me that twice. And I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then it went to a whole other story about, about other people, about her mother, about her sister, about my sister's father. It went on and on and on. And then at that point, I just say, you know what? I'm just going to sit here and listen. I'm just going to sit here and listen, because I think that she hasn't gotten over the fact that she gave me up. And it's sad, because I really, I want them. I would love for them to be at my wedding. I would love for them to, I would love for my birth mom to have a relationship with her only granddaughter, and it's just like, but my peace is not worth it. My self-worth went up so much after I shared my story that it's going to take a lot to bring me down to how I was last year. And that's in a year. But it was just removing that cloud, that negative energy. And things started to happen in my life so much that I thought would never happen. And as an adoptee, somebody to actually propose to me and say they want to spend the rest of their life, that he accepted me. He accepted me. And I never thought I was, always told that, it's, how could you expect somebody to love you if you act like that? Act like what? How I act, how you see me right now, how I am on Instagram, that's how I am. I'm my true self. I could be a little crazy, a little emotional, you know what I mean? And I might, say something that might make you mad, but at the end of the day, I'm myself. And I was never able to be myself around my birth mother. I had to play this person that she, that was like she pictured in her head for me to be, but like I said, it's so many things that started happening, as soon as I started to accept myself, that's what I want people to really see. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, go through it and go through your emotions, go through what you have to go through, and then just pick yourself up and continue. Like, keep going on with your life. We can't change people. It took me 23 years to realize that and say in my head, I can't change her. If she's not going to accept me or like me for who I am, that's fine. One time we got in an argument, she said, I love you, but I don't like you. And that's the worst thing a birth mother could say to their child. Because guess what? If my adopted mother said it, it wouldn't have hit and wouldn't hurt as hard. So I'd be like, whatever. Okay. You know what I mean? But when it happened to her, when she said it, that was like a knife. When I tell you it was like a knife and somebody turned it, and I said, what do you mean you don't like me? Why would you say that? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that, happen and that we're told that caused me to react a certain way. And guess what? I ran, I left, I got out because that was what I knew. I wanted to leave her before she left me again. And that was how I lived. That was how our relationship was. We would separate from each other and we wouldn't talk. Neither one of us would pick up the phone. That was how our relationship was for years.
Oh, see, that's so crazy. And now I know you, mom, like, like those kinds of things you would never, ever, ever say to your daughter. And it's not just
never.
It's just a mother-daughter relationship, like you said, whether I just can't even. And
yeah.
My favorite thing just watching you, like you can just see, and I obviously haven't known you, but you can see where you truly have gained your power. And it's beautiful and it's amazing
Mhm.
because, man, I'm all about that self love. I mean, if you keep my profile or anything, like
Yes.
I'm all about that. And I
Yes.
absolutely love that because I feel like that is the biggest power, especially as women can harness, is finding
Oh
that
yeah.
self-love because then, like you said, you can be who you want. Like I come from a very like, Christian, I'm part of the Mormon religion and they are very like, don't swear, don't this, don't that. And I'm like, oop, it comes out of every other like, but in my heart, I still love the church. I still love Jesus. I know Jesus loves
Yes.
me. And as far as
Yes.
other people, other members of this church want to look down on me, but like
Yeah.
you have to find who you are as a person and go
Yeah.
with it and the people that will find you and love you for you. But I love that you're saying, I'm not going to
They're
drag
there.
you down there. No, I love
They're
that.
there.
And you
You
found your
know?
worth. And exactly, I'm not going to
Yeah.
change for you. I am me. And this is what I'm going to do. And I love it.
Yeah. And like you said, God still loves me the same. That's it. As long as I keep my relationship with him, and the relationship is between me and him, not me, him, and you. You know what I mean? So as long as I have my relationship with him and he knows who I am and I know who he is, that's all that matters. I don't need your validation. You know what I mean? I don't need your validation. People are gonna say what they want to say. And you know what? If you're doing something right, that's why I always say if people aren't talking, then you're not doing enough. It's when people are, and that's, I mean, the good and the bad. When people start talking about you in a good way or a bad way, that's what it is. And I've been seeing that ever since, I've been doing whatever. I see who's really supportive. I got so many things going on in my life, and I see myself like, so like, I'm telling you, within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm going to be a completely different person in a completely different place. And I just know that I deserve that. And that's where I'm going to be. Like, I literally want you to be like, oh my God, I know her, and see me on TV somewhere and be like, oh my God, like we had this interview like, 5 years ago. And oh my gosh, yeah, come on, girl, come on. You know what I mean?
Oh, and you better watch
Share
out.
the love.
I will come jump you. I'll be like, Amanda. I will. Don't. I will.
Remember?
You'll be like, who is this? I'll be like, no, we did an interview. Remember?
I know, but it's just, like I said, I just want to be that advocate and that support. And I just, like I said, I'm in the beginning phases of doing what I want to do, but every day things just come to me and I wake up and I'm just like, I have a regular like job, and I just go to my job and then I come home and then I focus on this. Like I focus on this, focus on that. And I'm just like, no, like I need to get this out there. I need to say it, and that's how it just comes to me.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't know, any last words that you have? This has been just amazing. I've absolutely loved it. I've learned so much.
I mean, I just, like I said, it's just important for people to, and I'm on this, on my way to being a self-development coach. And one of those things is just walking people through the steps that I took, and not saying that it's going to work, but it's a generalized kind of idea or outline that could at least help you to get started. Do you know what I mean? So what I just want people to understand is that there is a light at the end of this tunnel. Like this doesn't have to be, and you choose to suffer. Nobody is telling you have to suffer. You did this, you did that. That's your choice. So you could sit here, complain, act like a victim or whatever, or you could rise above it and do something about it and then help the next person, because that's what it's all about. And unless people start realizing that and stop being selfish and, poor me, okay, I dealt with it too. And I'm not saying you can't feel like that. I'm in pain every single day, but I just want to use my energy towards something else. And guess what? I attract energy, positive energy. And what you put out is what you're going to get. So that's it. Close the curtain.
No, preach it.
Close the curtain.
When you start doing like retreats or whatever, you better call me and be like, Milena,
listen. And then I always tell people, I was raised by an Italian woman. So they talk with their hands. And that's why I said, I always like, doing my hand thing and everything. I said, that's the Italian in me.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think you're amazing. And I think you're a wonderful light. And like you guys,
thank you.
Check out. You've changed your name a couple times on Instagram. Is it what is your name on Instagram now?
Black Girl White Family.
Yes.
At white, Black girl, white family.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a couple fellow adoptees that follow me. So you guys seriously go check her out. Go look at her stuff. I didn't know she had a YouTube. I'm gonna go peep on that as well. But like
Yeah, it's in the link also.
Perfect. Yeah, she's got a link in her bio that you can go click on. Just the more education you can do for yourself, the better. Like on all these. This is why I do these stories, because every story is so different from
Yes.
adoptive parent point of view, from a birth parent point of view. They're so different, but they're so beautiful, and like because you can learn so much from
Well,
them.
I appreciate you doing this, because it's, it just helps from all different ends. And it's good for us adoptees to hear it from birth mothers, because I never heard it from mine. So to hear another birth mother, I will listen. Yes, I will listen. Everybody's not the same, but it's nice to hear them, to be vulnerable and just say, listen, like, this is how I feel. So you could look at them as a person, because my first an impression of a birth mom, it was good at first, but now it's like, you know what I mean? That's how it was. And I don't want to feel like that, because I'm all about, spreading the love and, just sharing, stories and journeys, but theirs matter too, and their stories deserve to be heard just as well as ours, because we don't know what situation they were in. I mean, things were different years ago, I don't know what they went through. So I think it's amazing that you're doing that. And, I'm sure that, it's helping a lot of people, and continue to do it.
No, I love it. And that's the thing is I've had people even who've adopted kids. They love it because they can learn from all these different stories going forward. Because I mean, parenthood, like you said, it's an unknown anyway, but then this is just, icing on the top that can help them kind of navigate and obviously
exactly
their own thing. But yeah, so seriously, I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for taking something out. I know you've got more stuff rolling tonight because I saw that on your Instagram.
Oh yeah, 9:00. Yes, the live. Yep.
Which is
That's
awesome.
exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you're amazing and it's going to be wonderful. But seriously,
thank you.
Amanda, thank you so much for taking some time out of
Yes, thank you too.
I really, really, really appreciate it.